There is a certain kind of quiet that only exists when you are alone on a Friday night. It is not the silence of loneliness. It is not the emptiness of being forgotten. It is something else entirely. It is the sound of your own breath, the gentle hum of your refrigerator, the distant murmur of traffic outside your window, the soft rustle of pages if you are reading. The world outside is busy, but in here, time moves at a different pace. And somewhere, in another part of the city, there is a party happening. People are laughing, music is playing, glasses are clinking, conversations overlap and build into that particular kind of noise that only happens when many people gather in one place. But you are here, in this stillness, wrapped in the familiar comfort of your own space. And the strange thing is, you chose this. If you clicked on this video, there is a good chance you know exactly what this feels like. That moment when your phone buzzes with an invitation and something inside you tightens, not because you do not like the people who invited you, not because you have nothing to wear, but because some quiet part of your mind whispers that staying home would feel so much better. And you have spent years wondering if something is wrong with you for feeling that way. But what if nothing is wrong at all? What if the mind that chooses solitude over a crowded room is not broken, but simply wired differently? What if the person who cancels plans at the last minute is not rude or antisocial, but protecting something precious inside themselves that most people never even notice they have lost? Consider a woman we will call Elena. She is 34 years old. She works as a graphic designer at a mid-sized company. Her co-workers like her. Her boss respects her work. She has a small circle of friends who genuinely care about her. By most measures, Elena has a good life. She is capable, creative, and kind. But every Friday afternoon, when someone in the office mentions happy hour, she feels a weight settle into her chest. It is not anxiety exactly. It is more like a kind of heaviness, a knowing, a quiet dread that spreads through her body like cold water. She will go if she has to. She will smile and make small talk and laugh at the right moments. She will ask about people's weekends and remember the names of their children. But by 9 o'clock, she will be drained in a way that takes the entire weekend to recover from. Sunday evening will arrive, and she will still feel like she is catching up with herself. Elena is not shy. She has given presentations to rooms full of executives without breaking a sweat. She is not depressed. She finds genuine joy in her work and her hobbies. She is not afraid of people. She simply experiences social interaction differently than most of the people around her. For her, every conversation requires a kind of translation. She is not just hearing words. She is reading faces, interpreting tones, managing her own expressions, anticipating what the other person needs from her. She is tracking the emotional temperature of the room. It is like running multiple programs on a computer at once. Eventually, the system needs to rest. This is what psychologists sometimes call the social battery. It is a metaphor, but it captures something real about how certain minds process connection. Think of it as an internal reservoir, a well that can only hold so much water before it needs time to refill. Some people recharge by being around others. The energy of a room fills them up. The noise and laughter and chaos of a party makes them feel alive and vibrant. They leave social gatherings feeling better than when they arrived, energized, ready for more. But for others, that same environment drains them. Every handshake, every hello, every polite question about how work is going, every moment of eye contact held for just the right amount of time, it all costs something. small withdrawals from an account that empties faster than it fills. And at some point, there is simply nothing left to give. The tank is empty, the well is dry, and the only remedy is solitude. The problem is that most of the world is built for people who gain energy from connection. Our offices have open floor plans designed for collaboration and constant interaction. Our social calendars fill up with brunches and birthday parties and networking events and team-building exercises. We are told that happiness comes from being surrounded by people. That loneliness is the great epidemic of our time. That community is the answer to every problem. That anyone who prefers their own company must be missing something essential about what it means to be human, must be damaged in some way that needs healing. But this is a misunderstanding, and it is one that causes real harm to people like Elena. Because when you are constantly told that your natural way of being is a problem to be fixed, you start to believe it. You start to wonder why you cannot be normal, why you cannot enjoy the things everyone else seems to enjoy, why you feel so tired after doing what should be simple and fun. The truth is, there is a difference between being antisocial and being selectively social. Antisocial behavior involves a genuine disregard for others, a lack of empathy, a pattern of manipulation or harm. But selective sociality is something completely different. It is not about disliking people. It is about understanding your own limits. It is about knowing that you have a finite amount of energy for connection and choosing to spend it wisely. Think of it like this. Imagine you had $100 to spend each day on human interaction. Some people wake up with $1,000 in their account. They can afford to be generous. They can chat with strangers at the coffee shop. They can stay late at the office party. They can text 5 different group chats and still have energy left over for a deep conversation with their partner at night. But others wake up with exactly $100. They have to budget carefully. They cannot waste their resources on small talk that goes nowhere. They have to save enough for the interactions that truly matter. This is not a flaw. It is simply a different economy. And when you understand this, something shifts. You stop seeing yourself as broken and start seeing yourself as different. You stop apologizing for leaving early and start honoring what your mind needs to stay healthy. But where does this difference come from? Why do some people find crowds energizing while others find them exhausting? The answers lie somewhere in the complicated territory between biology and experience, between the brain you are born with and the life you have lived. Consider what happens in the mind during a typical social interaction. Your brain is doing an enormous amount of work that you never consciously notice. It is tracking the other person's eye movements. It is processing the micro-expressions that flicker across their face. It is analyzing the rhythm and pitch of their voice for emotional cues. It is retrieving relevant memories and social scripts. It is monitoring your own body language and adjusting it in real time. It is predicting what the other person might say next and preparing appropriate responses. For most people, this process runs smoothly in the background. Like a well-maintained machine, it hums along without demanding too much attention. But for others, this machine runs louder. It takes more resources. It requires more conscious management. And when you multiply this by the dozens or hundreds of interactions that happen at a social event, you can see why the experience might be overwhelming. Some researchers believe this sensitivity is rooted in the nervous system itself. Certain people have what scientists call a highly reactive nervous system. Their bodies respond more strongly to stimulation of all kinds. Loud noises feel louder, bright lights feel brighter, and social environments, with their constant stream of sensory and emotional information, can feel absolutely overwhelming. Imagine a person we will call Marcus. He is a software developer in his late 20s, tall, quiet, with the kind of thoughtful presence that makes people trust him instantly. He has always known he was different. As a child, birthday parties made him cry, not because he was unhappy, but because the noise and chaos and expectations were simply too much for his system to process. The balloons popping, the children screaming, the adults making small talk in loud voices, the unwrapping of presents while everyone watched. It was overwhelming in a way he could never explain. His parents thought he would grow out of it. His teachers thought he was just shy. But Marcus knew there was something else going on. He could feel the world more intensely than the people around him. Every emotion in the room seemed to pass through him like a current. Every unspoken tension made his stomach tight. As an adult, Marcus has learned to manage this sensitivity. He arrives late to parties, so he does not have to endure the full length of them. He finds the quietest corner and stakes his claim there early. He takes breaks outside to let his nervous system settle. He always drives himself so he can leave when he needs to. But even with all these strategies, social events leave him feeling like he has run a marathon through thick mud. His body aches. His thoughts are foggy. He needs a full day of silence, sometimes two, to feel like himself again. Marcus is not weak. He is not broken. He is simply taking in more information than most people can even perceive. His nervous system is doing extra work, processing signals that others filter out automatically. And that work has a cost. But biology is only part of the story. The way we experience social situations is also shaped by our histories, by the relationships we had as children, by the ways we learn to navigate the dangerous territory of other people's expectations. Consider someone who grew up in a household where emotions were unpredictable, where a parent's mood could shift without warning from warm to cold, from loving to critical, from present to terrifyingly absent. A child in this environment learns to be vigilant, not by choice, but by necessity. They develop an almost supernatural ability to read the room, to detect the subtle signs of impending anger or disappointment, to notice the slight tightening around a parent's mouth that signals danger, to hear the change in footsteps that means someone is coming home in a bad mood, to adjust their behavior in real time to avoid triggering a negative response. This is a survival skill. It kept them safe when they were small and vulnerable. And it is one that many people carry into adulthood without ever realizing it, still scanning for threats that no longer exist, still preparing for storms that may never come. When you bring this kind of hypervigilance to a social situation, everything becomes more effortful. You are not just having a conversation. You are scanning for threats. You are monitoring everyone's emotional state and calculating how it might affect you. You are managing your own presentation with exhausting precision, making sure you do not say the wrong thing, do not reveal too much, do not become a target. You are doing the work of 10 people while appearing to do nothing at all. Smiling, nodding, looking perfectly relaxed while inside, every alarm is ringing. This is invisible labor, and it is one reason why some people find social events so draining, while others find them effortless. The person who grew up in a stable, predictable environment may walk into a party and simply enjoy themselves. They are not on high alert. They are not constantly assessing danger. They can relax into the experience in a way that feels impossible for someone who learned early that relaxation is dangerous. There is also something to be said about the nature of modern social interaction itself. Our grandparents, did not have to navigate the same landscape we do. They lived in smaller communities where everyone knew everyone. The grocer knew your name. Your neighbors watched you grow up. Social interaction was woven into the fabric of daily life in a way that felt organic and natural. There was no pressure to perform because there was nowhere to hide. You simply were who you were, and people accepted it because they had known you since you were a child. The roles were clear, the expectations were familiar, the script was written by generations of tradition. But today, social interaction has become a kind of performance art. We curate our images on social media, selecting only the most flattering angles and the most impressive moments. We craft our personas for different audiences, showing one face to our co-workers, another to our friends, another to our families, another to strangers on the internet. We are constantly aware of being watched and judged, of every word being potentially recorded, of every action being open to interpretation and criticism. And this performative pressure makes social situations more exhausting for everyone, but especially for those who already find them challenging. The stakes feel higher now. The margin for error feels smaller. The consequences of getting it wrong feel more permanent. When you go to a party today, you are not just navigating the room and its complex web of social dynamics. You are navigating the possibility that someone might post an unflattering photo of you that lives forever online. You are managing your brand, whether you think of it that way or not. You are performing a version of yourself that you hope will be liked and accepted and not mocked later in some group chat you will never see. This is exhausting work, and for people who are already sensitive to social demands, it can be absolutely depleting. The mental load is enormous, invisible, and constant. So what does all of this mean? If you are someone who avoids social events, what should you take from understanding the psychology behind your preference? The first thing to understand is that avoidance is not always a problem. Sometimes it is a solution. Your mind has developed a strategy for protecting itself from overwhelm. It has learned that certain environments cost more than they give, and it has made a reasonable calculation that staying home is often the better choice. This is not a failure, it is intelligence. But there is a difference between healthy avoidance and avoidance that comes from fear. If you are staying home because you genuinely prefer solitude, because you have rich inner resources that sustain you, because you know how to spend your social energy wisely, then there is nothing to fix. You are simply living in alignment with your nature. However, if you are avoiding social situations because you are afraid of being judged, afraid of saying the wrong thing, afraid of being seen and found wanting, then something else is going on. Fear-based avoidance tends to shrink your world over time. It cuts you off from experiences that might actually nourish you. It keeps you trapped in a loop of anticipatory anxiety that is often worse than the thing you are trying to avoid. The key is learning to distinguish between these two types of avoidance. Asking yourself honestly, am I staying home because I want to, or because I am afraid? And if the answer is fear, being willing to gently push against that boundary, not to force yourself into situations that genuinely harm you, but to test whether the fear is protecting you from real danger or just keeping you stuck. There is also wisdom in understanding that human connection, even for those who find it draining, is still necessary. We are social creatures at our core. Our brains and bodies are wired for attachment in ways that run deeper than preference or personality. Studies have shown that social isolation affects the same neural pathways as physical pain. That loneliness can trigger inflammation in the body. That people who lack meaningful connections have higher rates of heart disease, cognitive decline, depression, and even shortened lifespan. Complete isolation carries its own costs, as real and measurable as the costs of overstimulation. The goal is not to eliminate social interaction from your life. It is not to build a fortress of solitude and never let anyone in. It is to structure connection in a way that honors your limits while still meeting your genuine needs for belonging and intimacy. This might mean having fewer, deeper friendships rather than a wide social network full of acquaintances you barely know. It might mean choosing one-on-one conversations in quiet coffee shops over group events in loud restaurants. It might mean being honest with the people in your life about what you need, even when that honesty feels vulnerable and strange, even when you worry they will not understand. It might mean creating rituals of solitude that refill your tank so you have something to give when connection does happen. Morning walks alone, evening baths in silence, weekends with no obligations, time that belongs only to you. The person who avoids social events is not deficient in some essential human quality that others possess naturally. They are simply navigating a world that was not designed with them in mind. They are managing a nervous system that takes in more than most. They are carrying strategies learned in childhood that protected them once but may no longer serve them. They are doing their best to balance their need for solitude with their need for connection, and that balance looks different for everyone. And if you are that person, I want you to know something important. Your preference for quiet is not a weakness to be overcome. Your need for solitude is not selfishness dressed in comfortable clothes. Your choice to stay home when everyone else goes out is not a moral failure or a character flaw. It is simply who you are. And who you are is enough. More than enough. It is exactly right. The room you are sitting in right now, with its familiar silence and gentle shadows, is not a prison you have built to escape the world. It is a sanctuary, a place where your nervous system can finally rest after working so hard to navigate a world that demands constant output. A place where you do not have to perform or manage or translate every experience through the exhausting filter of social expectation. A place where you can simply be yourself, unedited, unperformed, real. And yes, there is a party happening somewhere. People are laughing and dancing and making memories, but there is something happening here too. In this quiet, in this stillness, there is a person learning to accept themselves, learning that different is not the same as broken, learning that the mind that chooses solitude is not lacking in love, but simply expressing it in a different way. And that is perhaps the most important thing to understand about people who avoid social events. The person who chooses solitude often has an enormous capacity for deep connection. They do not skim the surface of relationships like water bugs skating across a pond. They dive deep. They listen in a way that makes others feel truly seen and understood. They notice the details that everyone else misses in their rush to the next conversation. They bring an intensity and presence to their connections that cannot be replicated by someone who spreads their energy thin across dozens of casual relationships. Your superpower is not the ability to work a room full of strangers with effortless charm. It is the ability to make one person feel like they are the only person in the world. Your gift is not charm or charisma in the traditional sense. It is depth, presence, attention. These are rare qualities in a world that moves too fast and notices too little. So the next time you feel that familiar tightening when your phone buzzes with an invitation, take a breath. Honor the part of you that wants to stay home. Or recognize it not as weakness, but as wisdom. And know that there is nothing wrong with you. You are not antisocial. You are not broken. You are not missing out on life by choosing a different path. You are simply living it differently. And that different way of living has its own beauty, its own wisdom, its own quiet, profound gifts that the world desperately needs, even if the world does not always know how to recognize them. If this video helped you understand yourself a little better, let us know in the comments below. Share your own experience of navigating a world that does not always understand your deep need for solitude and quiet. We want to hear your story, and if you have not already, consider subscribing so we can continue these conversations together. Thank you for being here, in this quiet space, in this moment of understanding. We will see you in the next one.